This is our day 20 on learning Selenium, Java, Cucumber, and CI technique. Today we will see Java interface. We'll talk about the syntax and how we use it. For theoretical part, I'm taking a reference of a website called Tutorials Point. They have given good example as well as the points to remember about interface. Okay. So I'm reading it out, and wherever it is required, I will explain it through code. So an interface is a reference type in Java. It is similar to class, right? So if anybody asks you what is interface, right? So remember that interface is similar to class, but generally you do not create object of interface. You create reference type, okay, of an interface. We will see this example, what we are saying, that we create reference type of the interface. It is a collection of abstract method. This is important. It is a collection of abstract methods. That means yesterday we saw some of the abstract method where there is no, the definition part. It was just the declaration. So similar to abstract class, in interface also we will have abstract methods. A class implements an interface, thereby inheriting the abstract method of the interface. So if a class want to use the interface, they have to implement the interface. So implements is also a keyword, right? So one class, so the relationship is this. When we say there is a interface, right, the name of the interface, let's say X, okay, then if there is a class who want to use the interface X, then it has to write, let's say the class name is Y, they have to write implement X, okay, Y implement X. Okay. We'll see the syntax. So when you say that you are implementing X, you are actually inheriting the properties of the parent, similar to how you inherit the property of class. In the same way it happens with the interface also, but there is a difference. We'll see that thing. Okay. Along with abstract method, an interface may also contain constant, default methods, static methods, and nested types. Okay. Okay. So there are other things also you can do on interface. Writing an interface is similar to writing a class, but a class describes the attribute and behavior of an object, whereas an interface contains behavior that a class implements. This is the most important part to understand. So here it is saying what is the difference between, if somebody asks you, okay, you said it is a similar to class, then what is the difference? What is the unique thing about interface? So if you see here, writing an interface is similar to writing a class, but a class describes the attribute and behavior of an object, right? What is the task? What is the, what we do with the classes? Generally, we describe the attributes. Attributes mean the properties, right? Whatever properties you have in your class. Let's say if you have a student class, then the attributes will be like roll number, or age, or standard, or address, whatever you can think of. So a class describes the attributes and behavior. Behavior means uh, your method. Okay. And an interface contains behavior that a class implements. But what is the special thing about interface is interface contains behavior that a class has to implement. We will see this example. Okay. So in class, you have both the things where you create the objects and you play with the attributes of the class, right? But interface, it's not like that you will create the interface and there will be some variable and you will play with those variable inside the class. It's not like that in interface. Okay. This point we will see. Unless the class that implements the interface is abstract, all the methods of the interface needs to be defined in the class, right? So main point is this: all the methods of the interface needs to be defined in the class. We'll see this thing. So let's now create one interface, and for that I want to take a real example, and we will create an interface called WebDriver. Okay. So that you will also get to know actually what is WebDriver. We are using in the Selenium WebDriver, right? So you today will understand actually what is WebDriver. But as of now, we are creating, just giving a name, WebDriver, right? It's nothing to do with the Selenium. So in this, let's create, no, not here. August source, yeah, here. We'll create a new package, interface demo. So here, if you see, if when you select new, you can select interface also. So if I select interface, let's create package first. Interface. This time I'm selecting the interface and I'm giving a name, let's say web dr, something like this, web dr. I'm not writing WebDriver because it will conflict with, let's try this. If it will conflict, we'll change the name. I'm giving a name as WebDriver. Okay, can I do capital? Yeah. So it should start with the capital WebDriver. Okay, finish. So this is creating the interface. Same as class. How we define the class, we have created one interface WebDriver. Okay. Now, what are the things we want to put? So I'm copying the code which I have. Okay, so let's understand this part. That what are the things I have put it here. Okay, let me delete this. We'll understand it at the end. Okay. So can I have variable? Yes, you can have variable defined and initialized in your interface. Then can I have main function? Let's try. Public static void main string. Okay. and then something. Oh, it's possible. System.out.println. I'm writing hi here. Done. But can I run the interface? Can I right click here and I will say run as Java application? Let's try. Yeah, you can run it. You can run one interface. Okay. Can I write other functions? So let's make public void do something. I'm just creating, and then can I say here anything like system out dot println hello? Is it possible? No, it's showing me error. It's saying that change abstract method do not specify a body. If you see the error here, it's saying abstract methods do not specify a body. Actually, what it is saying, so we are learning through the error actually. So what it is saying that in your interface, you cannot define a function. All the function is by default abstract in interface. That means I'm deleting the main part actually because that will not make any sense. We generally do not run the interface. You have to use the interface in other classes. It's like this. So you cannot have, you cannot do this. You cannot make a function. If you are making a function, you just have to declare it. Okay. So we created one interface WebDriver and declaring some of the function. And these functions are, let's say, find element, close, get. But surprisingly, there is no implementation part. There is no implementation part here. So who will implement these classes? Who will implement these functions? So the class which will implement the WebDriver, it is the responsibility of those classes to implement on its own way. Okay. So let's create a class which will implement this interface. So we are creating a class called Chrome Driver. Driver, done. And once you make it, if you want to implement, you have to use implements. Implements is a keyword. Implements is a keyword. What it does, it implements an interface. So here the name of the interface is WebDriver. Okay, once I do that, it is showing me some error. It's saying that the type Chrome driver must implement the inherited abstract method find element and all. So what it is saying that if you are implementing the WebDriver, you have to redefine all the function. Not redefine, actually define it, because that part which we have in the WebDriver is just the declaration, right? It's not the definition. So Chrome driver I have with me, and let me make it and then I'll explain what we are doing here. So this one, let's understand that what we are doing here. I'm deleting this particular part at the end. I'll put so that things will be clear what we are doing. So if you see here, what we are doing is making our own function, close. was it a part of this? Yeah, it was a part of the interface. Okay, close, find element, scroll was a part of it. No. So let's understand that. Or can I delete this I am commenting out this close function. It is showing me an error. It is showing that Chrome driver must implement the inherited abstract method WebDriver. What does this mean is you have to implement all the functions which is there in the interface. So Chrome driver has to make its own way of closing the browser. I'm giving a real example. When you write WebDriver driver is equals to new Chrome driver, actually Chrome driver is a class which Google developers, you know, they are maintaining, or some open source developers are creating that. But what is the meaning of that is, if it is implementing the Selenium's WebDriver, they have to create these many functions, right? So they have to create find element, close, and get function, which should accept one string, you know. So Chrome will have its own native way of opening a website. Firefox will have its own way, right? So what is this Firefox driver and Chrome driver are actually classes which is implementing Selenium's WebDriver. Okay, but they may have their own code to write the Chrome in a certain way, or they may have their own native codes to, you know, finding the elements. Okay, sorry. And it can have its own other functions also, like I've given the scroll, right? Don't compare it with the Selenium what we have seen in the JavaScript executor scroll. It's like a function, so you can create its own function also. Why we can create? Because it's a class. So irrespective of what I am implementing, right, I can have my own functions also. Okay, so this is its own concrete function. And can we have the mean? Yes. So I'm now you will understand that why we write, um, you know, driver is equals to new Chrome driver. What happens in the background that I want to show. Okay. So when we write WebDriver is equals to dr is equals to new Chrome driver, what happens is it creates the object of the Chrome driver and pass the reference to WebDriver dr reference here. And then when you call driver.getFacebook.com, right, something like that, then it calls the function of the Chrome driver only. So Chrome driver has its own way of using the get function, correct? And then close function, let's say. So where is close? So close is this one. So Chrome drivers close its own way of closing it. It's like this. Okay. Let me run this. So let's understand what happened here is there is an interface called WebDriver. There is no implementation part. It is just all the functions declaration. And all these functions are by default abstract. So abstract methods here, where you declare it, you don't have to put the body or the definition part. The classes which will implement this interface has to make their own way of doing all these functions. So let's understand why somebody will create interface. Because we want to standardize all the function name, one thing. Another way is putting a foundation that, let's say, a new kind of browser will come tomorrow, geo browser. Okay, so add you want to automate on the geo browser, right? So Chrome, Firefox, you know already. And so the geo browser, somebody has to create the geo browser driver, right? And they have to, put all these functions on their own way, find element and all, right? So that automation will happen in the same way how other browsers are doing, means the same function. They may write their own code of doing it, but basically they have to implement all these functions, right? Because they have to. Otherwise, if geo browser will forget to write down the close function, then your automation will not work. You will be able to open a browser, but if there is no close function, how you will close the browser? Okay. Now I'm going back to this. So an interface is similar to a class in the following ways. An interface can contain any number of methods. So these are the similarities that, okay, interface is similar to class because you can create any number of methods. Interface is written in file with a Java extension with the name of the interface matching the name of the file. Okay, the bytecode of an interface appears in a class file. So it's similar to when you compile it, the dot class will be created. Interface appears in packages and their corresponding bytecode file must be in a directory structure that matches the package name. So it's not a big deal. It's same as, you write package name dot class name to identify a particular class. In the same way, you write the package name dot interface name. However, an interface is different from a class in different ways, including you cannot instantiate an interface. You cannot instantiate an interface. So let's see this part. Just a minute. One by one, we will see. You cannot instantiate. Okay, let's try to instantiate. So instantiation means, can I write in my class here, can I write web driver tr, web driver check, I'm giving any name, is equals to new web driver. Is it possible? It's showing me one error. It's saying me web driver cannot be resolved to a type. Oh, there is a spelling mistake. No, let me write it properly. So I want to write web driver check is equals to new web driver. So it is saying me it cannot here it's written cannot instantiate the type web driver. So actually it's not allowed. You cannot write it like this. And that is why whenever you write web driver dr is equals to, you know new, you have to implement another, you have to actually create an object of another class. And that is the reason we write WebDriver dr is equals to new Chrome driver, not like this, right? This is the reason, because WebDriver is an interface. We cannot instantiate the WebDriver object. And even if you will do it, there is nothing here, right? Even if it is allowed, there is nothing here. What you will do with that? So that's why you create the reference, okay? And you call all the functions which is there in the Chrome driver. It's like this, like automatic. So this is also a kind of abstraction. You are writing driver dot every time, thinking that it's a WebDriver function, but it is not WebDriver function. It's the Chrome driver's way of doing get, close, and whatever you are calling. Okay, fine. This point is fine. Can we create the real example? Let's say Firefox also will create. So we are going to create another class, new class Firefox. Fine. And this also implements WebDriver. Okay. So what I have to do? I have to define all those things. So can I have Firefox driver? Yeah, I have. I'm copying this. Same thing, but now it's some Firefox way, like the Firefox way of closing it, finding the element and the URL, sorry, that get function. Okay. There is nothing much to understand on this. It's similar to like what we did in a Chrome driver, but Firefox driver will have its own way of doing all these things. Okay. So when you call driver.close, right, it is the way how in the Firefox driver class the close pattern is implemented, right? It's like this. Okay.